What is going on? Hopefully,
What is going on?
Man, I thought
You
you
like
had
my
left
grand
the show. Like,
entrance?
yeah, that was pretty nice. I thought you were gonna leave me, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm solo
Nah,
tonight.
I got you, brother. Nah, it was
Yeah,
all strategic planning to kind of
I'm
slide into the
I'm
frame.
sure it was right. You did it so well.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
What's going on, everybody? This is Whiskey with an Agent, episode number 20,
26?
26,
So,
man.
is it?
26. Yeah,
Okay.
number 26.
Who's
And
counting?
who's counting? I am. I mean, I think we should.
Hey, that's our thing.
Yeah, it kind of is. I think most podcasts will count their shows. It kind of gives you an idea of, hey, how many shows have we done? Well, so tonight we're going to be doing we're doing like a new series, sort of. So we're still talking about real estate. We're still talking about all that good stuff. But tonight, it's something I really want to talk about. Been wanting to talk about for a while. We just never have. Is investments.
Mm-hmm.
Man, a lot of there's a lot of scary
There's a
things
lot.
with investments. There's a lot of different ways to get into investments.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of different kinds of investments that you can do, not just in real estate, but just all around the board. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about in the series of investments. So, tonight we're going to talk about some investments that I've done. Chris, you're getting into something going on.
Yep. That's correct.
Most of it is geared around real estate between Chris and I. I have some other investments outside of real estate, and I don't know if Chris, you have other things as well that are not real estate, but
Yeah.
I kind of want to talk about a little bit about everything. And but it's not going to be all in one show. Like I said, this is going to be sort of a series that I don't know. Maybe we do like once a month talk about investments. Every other month.
I mean, we're both going to be kind of just maybe it could be something that we can check in on each other's investments, like how are things progressing with you and your investments. And
that's
people can kind of
the
learn
other
like
thing.
a little mini series.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. Kind of chronicle the ups and downs of what we're doing, of the stuff that I have going on and the stuff that Chris has going on. So
yeah.
But yeah, so episode 26.
I like how John
starts.
started it off. John started it off over here on Facebook, drinking Glenlivet 15 tonight. That is a very proud.
Dang,
that's
dude,
a very
some
nice.
stuff.
That's a very nice one right there. Nice
That's good stuff. Hey, if you can post a picture of it, I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see if it's real.
I
want to see if it's real.
I want to see if it's real. Awesome. What are you drinking tonight, Jared?
You know what? I don't know. I was gonna go with the piggyback, but I might.
You went with the piggyback last time.
Did I? No, I thought I did the Buffalo Trace last time.
No, you're right. You're right. My mistake. My mistake.
But since John's doing the Glenlivet 15, I'm gonna go a little bit cheaper, but I think I'm gonna do the Glenlivet Founders Reserve. It's one of my go-tos. It's good stuff. But John, you inspired me. Yeah, you inspired me to do the Glenlivet. I was gonna do the piggyback, but
all right. Well, that means I gotta switch mine out because this one is it's a bourbon. I have it in my little skull decanter here.
Yeah.
For Halloween spirit, and I honestly forgot which bourbon I even have it in there. I'd have to go back to the records. But now I want to go out there and go get some scotch since it's a scotch night. I'll probably get the either the Glenmorangie or the Glenfiddich. So
both good ones.
Both good ones.
Both good ones.
So I might have to just kind of dip real quick and go get it.
Oh man, that means I gotta entertain.
All right,
that's fine. Yeah, go grab it.
Okay, be right back.
Do it. So yeah, tonight talking about investments. There's a lot of stuff that over the past probably about a year or so now, I've gotten into various investments that have to do with real estate, and I want to just kind of, for me, I want to kind of chronicle and see how they're doing over time, and I want to share that with everybody on the pod that's listening on the podcast, but then also kind of talk about how to get into investing if you're unfamiliar, and maybe you are familiar with how to get into it, but sometimes you run into those roadblocks where maybe it's money issues, maybe it's, how to find the next investment, things like that. So I want to talk about some of those roadblocks that a lot of people run into when they're trying to get into it. But the biggest thing is you have to start somewhere, and it's really never too late to start investing. I mean, you should always have some sort of portfolio, but
Yeah, it's never
you
too
have
late.
to start somewhere. And for me, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts now about investing, about real estate, um, and various types of different investments that I'm in, and it sort of gives me an idea of what I should get into, how hard it's going to be, things like that. So there's, like I said, and there's a lot of different things that kind of go into my thought process and how I choose an investment, and things like that. So, but like I said, the biggest thing is just getting started. And that was the hardest thing for me, was eventually getting to the point where I could make that first, take that money out of my bank and put it into something and hopefully see a return. I mean, it's a scary thing, putting that
Mhm.
money to work for you. Sometimes it's a
Yeah,
nice safe haven, just having it sit in the bank,
yeah,
and ready when,
and mhm.
for an emergency or something, but
And if
what's
you're the
up?
conservative type too, that has this ability, like that has that needs, like I gotta hold on to money, like it's gonna be harder for you, but it doesn't mean there's not options out there, that to where you can invest in real estate
Yeah,
on a conservative level, and it's all
right.
about just finding those options. And we'll go into like where you should start, how can you learn, where can you go, what kind of investments. I'm pretty sure you said all this, right?
Hmm.
What we should
I did.
know, different types of real estate investments, things that we do. So where should we? Okay, well, kind of going back to
So
the
let's
topic here.
see.
I ended
Let's
up getting.
see.
I decided on the Glenfiddich.
The
Glenfiddich
Glenfiddich. All
12
right.
sherry cask. I definitely
Nice.
put a dent in this, as you can all see. This is actually really good
What
stuff.
what is how much what does a bottle like that cost? The 50, you said that was a
This
15?
was.
About what, 70
Oh, John.
bucks?
I don't know. 15.
No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
sure.
Or what's the one you have? The Glenfiddich,
Glenfiddich 12 sherry cask.
okay. So what is
Yeah.
that, like a $60 bottle?
I
Do you
think it was a
remember?
little bit less than that.
Was it
Um,
really?
I think so. A little bit less than that.
All right.
I think it was around like the 40 $50 range. To be honest with you, it wasn't that much
Oh, nice. Nice.
to me. Oh wait, hold on. Signature sound. Signature sound. There we go.
Boom. I
Best.
like it.
Oh, so good.
It is good. All right.
So good.
So I'll wait for him to get his pour. We'll start off with our cheers before we jump into the meat of the show. Cheers,
So,
everybody.
cheers, everyone.
All right. How is it? Amazing.
So good. It's
So
eye
good.
rolling. So good.
Love it.
Love it. Send
Wow.
me out. I can't send a pic. Won't let me upload.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's all
That's
right.
fine.
Oh,
Actually, you
that's
could
right. You
probably
know
do a
what?
private message. You could
On
probably do a private message. Do a
maybe.
private
I don't
message.
know. It's not.
Because
It's
you could, once you do a private message, then you could probably share it.
oh, maybe.
So
Yeah, but you know
yeah,
what? I remembered is on the live shows, for some, I don't know why it is. You can post a picture on comments like in any other Facebook post, but for some reason when you're doing a live show, like it won't let you add a picture
I wonder if
in
they
the
do that
comments.
to prevent people from doing disturbing things on. I guess I don't know.
Maybe because it's kind of like a live thing and they don't want to have, I don't
Which
know.
makes no sense because we're doing live, which means we can do whatever the fuck we want, anyways.
Pretty much. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Uh,
Facebook,
who cares?
whatever. Who
Yeah.
cares?
All right.
Um
Start us off
so
there.
so I there's so many spots that we could start off, but my thought is why invest? Like why should people invest? And I have my reason, Chris. I'm sure you have your reasons. For me, why investments are so important is because ultimately you're investing because you have some capital that you want to put to you want to put it to work, and you want to earn something back from it. Maybe you're not looking to get rich, but you want to you want that money to work for you. So um that's the main reason. But for me, the main reason is you start investing and you turn a little investment into a little bit bigger, and you earn capital back on that, and then you turn you reinvest it, and you keep growing that until essentially I want to build my empire, or my legacy, or whatever, as I get older, and have those investments continue to build for my retirement, and then to pass on to whoever after I'm long gone. And so you're building that legacy. That's sort of my goal, is to have that towards retirement, but then also to um to build that legacy. What's your for you, like, reasons to invest? I mean, I guess also I do enjoy it. There is some fun to it. There's some challenges for investment, so it is fun for me to do that. So what about you? What's some of your reasons for investing?
Uh, well, I definitely agree with you on the generational wealth, especially
Right.
for someone who doesn't come from wealth. Most people want to have wealth and financial freedom. That's another thing.
Yes. Financial
The
freedom.
the
That's a big
anxiety,
term.
the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck. I've done it all my life. My adult life, from working at least, was always check to check in between jobs. It's never the grass is greener on the other side, they say, right? So if my
Right.
grass is dead because I don't have financial freedom, and I see all these people with wealth and money, jealousy is a word that comes into mind. And then I've always wanted it, but I never saw a path to get it. It wasn't until I was actually in real estate, practicing real estate, learning real estate, is when I started seeing how to get there. And it was through real estate. And Jared, I have a question for you before I continue on with my rant here. Um, how many? What do you think the percentage of millionaires started off in real estate? What do you think that percentage is?
Ooh. I would almost say
What percentage
100%
of
of them.
millionaires started in
I
millionaires?
I
Started
I
in
would
real estate.
I would probably say 100% of them.
90%.
Okay.
Ninety
Yeah.
percent.
Yeah.
So if you that is literally, people are so invested in like crypto and stuff like that, and traditional 401k, but there's nothing more empowering and financially freedom set by owning real estate.
Right.
Like, you, by owning real estate, you literally can in one lifetime create an immense amount of wealth just through
Oh,
real estate,
100%.
and you can do so without owning a license too. You do not need to
Yes.
own a real estate license in any state or in any capacity to
Yep.
become financially independent. And we're
Correct.
gonna go over quite a few of that. Like, you got to find the route that makes sense to you. Some people do it wholesaling. Some people do it for short-term rentals. That's what my eyes are on, is
Right.
short-term rentals.
Yep.
And there's flipping. If you like to get your hands dirty and create a beautiful product, or turn a house upside down and design something beautiful for a home
Yeah.
to be livable
Yep.
again, there's that. There's
For me, flipping, it's
yeah,
just I mean, so and different investments are perfect. Everybody has their sort of niche. Flipping, man, it just seems. Have you ever flipped a house?
I don't want to.
No.
I don't want
I
to.
For me, it just seems like a ton of work. It just, you get it. I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of risk in flipping. You got to do a lot of research to make sure
Yeah.
that, that usually when you're buying a house to flip, it's not in the best shape. There could
Mhm.
be, um, things that when you buy the house that it's just I don't know, it's overwhelming for me.
It's the
On
unknown.
the
It's
flip
the fear
side,
of the unknown for a lot of people,
right?
right? So
Yeah.
it's like if I open this wall up, like, oh my God, am I gonna find like termites? Yeah, like that's always the case that could
Hmm.
happen. But like it's a type of mindset. It's a different type of mindset, right? So it's a different type of
Right.
investing. So
Yep.
it's not my cup of tea because I don't want to rip open walls. I don't want to like spend money to flip it over and hopefully get a good
Man,
enough ROI. So,
there's
but there are
people that
people
do
out
it
there
and they
who just
make a
love it.
killing.
They
Yeah.
make a killing because they're
Yep.
able to find a team that finds the deals, and they're able to turn it around. And they come in with a great crew of people, and they flip this house, and they're able to sell it for a great profit and sell it to like a family that needs it and that can because we need it. Like we have too many dilapidated homes that need to be fixed up, and no one's willing to fix them.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
across the country, across the country. So like we need
Very
more people,
true.
we need more investors that are willing to flip properties over. We need banks to let go of these foreclosed properties that have been vacant. Opapka has like over 1,000 vacant homes that are just sitting there. We could have used those homes during the boom. We still need those homes. But I don't know. I'm not a banker. If I was a banker, I'd probably understand. But I'm in real estate, so I'll stick to my own guns. But you know, like I said, you don't need a real estate license. You don't need a lot of capital. You really don't. You don't need a lot of capital to get started.
To get
One of
started,
the
no.
yeah.
But it also depends. That also depends on what you're getting started in and what you consider to be a lot of capital. There was a point in time where I had some money, but it wasn't enough that I could put it into some sort of, investment such as, or as far as real estate goes. Real estate to me, you always have to have when you're buying something, you're going to have some sort of down payment. If you're getting a loan on it or something, you're going to have a down payment.
Mhm.
So it kind of depends on what you consider um, a big a big or a lot of capital to get started. What what are some ways that you found? Like I know you're working on something.
Mhm.
What were some ways that you looked at, or some things that you looked at in order to get that capital? Was this money that you have just set aside, when you're earning your paycheck or whatever, you're just setting it aside, or are you doing something else? Like how are you getting started in investment?
I started by taking an opportunity out on the current market that we're at. Bethany and I both did. So when we
Mhm.
bought our house in 2020 for X number, um, and then when, at the height of the market, and even just recently, because we gained a tremendous amount of equity in a very short period of time. The idea was always to leverage this property to purchase the next property. But when the Fed started increasing the interest rates, that means the value of property is going to start going down. All right. So,
Right.
because when interest rates go up, people can't afford these high prices. So prices will naturally fall. So I went to Bethany and said, we need to do what's called a HELOC. It's an acronym for Home Equity Line of Credit. And when you do, you're pretty much taking the equity out of your property or a line of credit. You're taking the equity out of your property and you're using that as free cash. You can go and pay off bills, you can go pay off loans, or what we're doing, we use it as a down payment on a property,
Okay.
of an
So
investment
you sort
property.
of took a loan out against your house, essentially.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Took a
Okay.
loan out against the house,
Okay.
and we're using that to purchase another property. So, and of course, you'll have, as an investment, you have to declare it as such. You're going to have to put 20% down. And then from there, you're able to now stay in this current house, and leverage
Mhm.
that next property for what we're going to do is short term rental, Airbnb. And the money coming in is not only going to be able to pay the mortgage, but also the HELOC. And the HELOC, usually when you have anything that's kind of loan, you really want to tackle um, with the highest interest rates first. Your
Right.
HELOCs and your kind of lines of credits, smaller loans, they always have the highest interest rate. So you want to pay that off as fast as you can to minimize the amount of extra money you're having to pay out in interest over the course of time. So that
Right.
property is going to pay the HELOC off and the mortgage. And over the course of time, if the numbers make sense, which it does for us,
Hmm.
we'll be able to cash flow that. And then we've put equity back into our house, our current house that we're staying in. And now we're having income. It's paying the mortgage off and we're having additional income come into the property. This is how you start generational wealth when it comes to one aspect of investing is real estate and rentals, long-term rental or short-term rental or a combination of. And then that's how you start one property. And once that property is paid off, um, then essentially now you have another asset that you can leverage to purchase another asset. So money's not coming out of our pocket during this purchase and furbishing of this property. We're using the money that's already here. This is our bank. This is our piggy bank. Your
That's
property is your
perfect.
piggy bank, right?
That's
And so,
perfect.
yeah, there's interest, there's a loan on it, there's a secondary payment, but that property that you're buying, if the numbers make sense, will pay off this. And
Yep.
then it's a spiral effect. So once that one starts making money and there's equity in it, I'm going to leverage that property and I'm going to go
Yep.
purchase another property. But the next property is going to be a duplex or a triplex, a multifamily. And I'm going to rent out each and every single one of those.
Right.
And two or three of those one unit will focus on that mortgage, and the other two units will pay off the HELOC that I took off on the secondary property. And
Yep.
then once that's paid off, once that property is paid off, like all the money, and you do this, it's a rinse and repeat, and that's why 90% of millionaires started off in real estate.
Right. And that's
Your
one of the
money's
things
not
that
coming
we're
out of my pocket for any of this.
that's one of the things we're going to kind of dive into in the series, maybe, a little bit in this episode, and kind of get into a little bit more detail in the next episodes, talking about,
Mhm.
because
And there's
essentially
so
what you're
much.
doing is you're using the bank's money, you're using leverage to invest or to buy your investments. And then once you have that, then now guess what? You have more leverage. Once you
Mhm.
increase the value, once you do something, then you can go out and refinance, cash out, refinance, and then you kind of let the bank take the the risk essentially, and you're taking that cash out, and then guess what? You're not putting it back into that property. You're going out and you're buying
Yeah.
another investment. So,
Yep.
but there are strategies to that. There are caveats. There are some downsides to doing it that way. Um, but like I said, we're gonna kind of build upon this, and like this is
Mhm.
the first one in the series about investments. So we want to
Yeah.
kind of build on this, and and learn together. As far as there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure that I can share with you, Chris, and there's a lot of stuff I'm sure you could share with me to help
Mhm.
kind of we kind of build our own
Yep.
legacy, so to speak.
Yep.
So,
And the thing is you have to surround there's many things that you have to start before even purchasing a property. Like
right,
one, you have to surround yourself with like-minded individuals. Not people who just talk, but people who actually take action. And then a
correct,
second thing is that you have to take control of your finances. You have to know what you're
yeah,
spending. You have to know what you're
yeah,
making. Like there is so much power alone when you have a true understanding of your own finances.
right.
Um, and you go if you don't know how to do that, you don't know where to start. Go sit down with someone. Go sit down with a financial advisor. It's free.
That or yeah, yeah, just start
You
really
know.
digging into that. Here's the thing. So let me kind of jump into a couple years back. What was this? Probably in 2019. So I was flying with this. So I work for the airlines, and I'm flying with this captain who he is a financial advisor, and just like any flight, we get on the airplane, we start doing whatever we have to do, and we taxi out, we take off. And once we get up in the cruise, then it's, conversation time. This guy, he looks at me. He's like, we were kind of chit chatting a little bit before that, but he looks at me. He's like, "So what's your 401k look like?" And I was like, "Excuse me? Like what?" What are you talking about? Like, how are you going to just ask me what my 401k looks like? And you know, and his background is he is a financial advisor. He actually wrote a book that I have that, you know, I've read through. There's a lot of good information in it. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's a good book. And he, you know, basically he talks about all his experiences, how he grew his portfolio and his generational wealth and his legacy and so on. And he did it through stocks, and which is, you know, why he was asking me about my 401k, not just investments. But the reason I bring this up, because for me this was sort of the turning point, the pivot for, holy crap, I need to start paying attention to this stuff. So investment could be a 401k. That is an investment. That's a retirement investment. That's a, you know, a vehicle to carry you into retirement. And I forget what the percentage is, but he was telling me, he's like, man, so, you know, he asked me about my 401k, and he's asking me specific questions like, well, how much money you haven't, you know, not that he's trying to get personal information out of me, but he's trying to get me to just talk about it. So here's the thing, talking about what you have going on is, and this is why I like doing
Taboo.
this
It's
this
taboo.
this podcast, because a lot of people think it's like, oh, this guy's asking me what's going on in my 401k. Here's the thing. Most people don't want to talk about it because they don't know what's going on. They don't know what they have in their 401k, or they're too embarrassed because they don't know what's going on in their
Hmm.
401k, or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't have one. I don't have one.
right.
Don't want one. I don't want one. There's no need
And that's
for it.
fine. Like, I have one because it's tied to my job with the airline,
Mm.
and in the airline contributes, you know, a certain amount. So I have to have one. I contribute a little bit of my paycheck into my 401k. And but so going back to talking to this captain, is he really opened my eyes to really start looking at, okay, well, what do I have going on? Like, how am I going to turn out for retirement? Um, is my 401k healthy? Am I doing the right thing? And we started just talking about how to invest your 401k. So he got me turned
Mm.
on to doing a lot of, so I have all of my stuff in my retirement account into the stock market. I don't do the target date funds. I don't do any of that stuff. I mean, you know, I probably, there there is some other investment things that I could put it into, but I chose to pull it out and put it, not pull it out for me in my bank account, but we have an option to invest all of our money in the 401k into stocks. And so, you know, I started doing that, and it's done pretty well. But the key is talking about what you actually have going on. So
Yeah,
he
you
really
got to
opened
talk
my
about a
eyes to,
taboo subject,
yes, to
and don't
start
be
paying
afraid.
attention to it.
Yeah,
You know, he
you
got me
can't you.
starting
Yeah, go ahead.
to pay attention to it, and and that's the key thing. So from literally from that flight on to this day, like I keep tabs on my 401k. Whereas before, I literally, you know, it would be months before I would go back and be like, I don't know what it's doing. I think I earned like 5% maybe for the year. It's
Hmm.
like, is that good? No, that's not good.
Yeah,
So he really gave me some tips and strategies and things like that. And
yeah.
like I
It,
said, we'll talk. We can dive more into that into to other episodes. But
mhm.
um, start looking at what you have already and start paying attention to that. If you can't lock in and really figure out what you have going on right now, then it's probably not the right time to just jump blindly into any other investments and things like that. You need to
Yeah,
focus on what do you actually have going on. You might have something you're like, oh, I haven't looked at that in years.
yeah,
So
yeah. You have to look at it every single day, pretty much. It's a muscle. Like, all right, so a muscle gets stronger by working it out. By not
right.
working it out, you're not gaining really anything. You're not gaining any new knowledge. You're not learning from yourself, and you're not learning how to proceed to the next step. So you have to take great control and great care of your own finances, even if it looks like shit. Because the moment every day, even if you're struggling right now, if you stare at it every single day, eventually it's going to piss you off, and you're going to find a way to unfuck yourself. for
Yep.
lack of a better term. You're gonna unstuck yourself, and you're gonna see the light at the end of the tunnel, like I have, because I thought I was stuck forever. But I
Yeah.
sat down with a financial advisor. We both did, and we saw all of our debts. We looked at our we found a structure that made it make sense, and inside of a year, or 1 year, we sat down with him again. He took a look at all of our set, and he said, "You guys have eliminated like over 80% of your debt." And we were like, "Oh
80%.
crap,"
Wow.
because we stared at it. We stared at it every
Yeah.
single day. We grabbed it by the balls, and we took it. Um,
Your dad
and
has
look where we're
balls?
at now. Inside of like 4 years, we're homeowners, and we're about to buy a second property for
Did you not
ourselves.
hear me?
No,
I
I
said
was too
your
busy
dad
listening to
has
myself.
I know. Your dad has balls?
Oh yeah,
That's so weird.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
All right.
Dude,
You have
if
that
you
big
grab it
manly
by the
debt, I
balls, you're
guess.
good. Say what? I had some big
So you
manly
have
debt,
that
yeah,
big
for sure.
manly debt.
Yeah, yep. And so, like, even for this next year, we have goals. Like, Bethany and I sat right here, and we created our own next year's goals for personal, financial, health, and then vacations and all kinds of stuff. So like you got to take control of your finances first and foremost, and surround yourself with like-minded individuals. If you don't know where to go, or you don't have any friends, or know of someone who is that you can say that person's better off than I am right now,
Yeah.
let me go have a conversation with them. Hey, can we go out for lunch or a cup of coffee? Like I would really like to kind of
Yeah.
ask you for some financial advice. And they're gonna be
Yeah.
like, everyone will be willing to tell you. Anyone
Oh,
who's
any
being approached and like asking for like someone's asking for you for help. When anyone asks
yes.
me for help, I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Like
Yeah.
whatever, regardless of the subject. And
Yeah.
it's it's having the courage to just go up and ask. Because what's the worst they're gonna say? No.
Get
Oh
out of
God,
here.
my life's over. I'm gonna die. Like, no,
Why are you
come on, be
talking to me?
realistic. Yeah.
You're
So, and
you're
if you
you're
don't know
inferior
anybody,
to
like
me.
honestly, if you don't know anybody, where can you go? Reddit is a great source sometimes, but you got to find the right forums. But biggerpockets.com,
Yeah, they have some
biggerpockets.com
good. I listen to a lot of
is
their
a
podcasts. They
really
have a lot
good
of good
stuff.
stuff.
They have a podcast, yeah, and they have
Mhm.
tons of videos online.
Yep.
YouTube, take with a grain of salt. Some people do things and say things that are just for clickbait, and for the views and stuff like that. So really take your time. Don't think you're going to become a millionaire overnight. These are years. I mean, I've been doing real estate for
Yes.
7 years. I'm still nowhere close to being a millionaire.
Right.
All right.
Well,
We
and
just
and
bought this house, it's like two
yeah,
years
and
ago. And
that's the thing is and I see those all the time. The get rich, quick, and you see all these videos,
doesn't
and they're like,
happen. Non-existent.
I've got $10,000 in passive income, and all I have, and I only work 10 hours a week, and I'm like, is that really the case?
No, that's
Because
true.
I don't,
You just yeah, you just have to ask the questions. All right, how you do that? And if they start giving you this long spiel, I'm like, yo, quick, short and quick. What are you doing? What are you leveraging?
right,
Because you can actually leverage your time. Like, um, you can actually okay, buying your time back is what it's called. If you can buy your time back, meaning that you pay someone to do a
right,
particular
but yeah,
thing that helps continue growing your business. That's all they do. And that way it leaves you time to go and do something else. And next you know, once you have that settled, you can pay someone else to do that. Next you know, you're sitting back and the money is coming
right,
in,
yeah.
and it will grow. All you have to do is just constantly monitor it, and you only have to work a couple hours a day, barely, and a couple
But
hours a
that
week.
takes time to get to, and the point of
Yeah,
that
you can't.
is the fact that you see those advertisements on Facebook, or you see those posts where people, those articles or
On
whatever,
comments.
and a lot of people. I mean, yes, it is possible you build up a portfolio to where you're just earning residuals,
Hmm.
and that is your passive income. But those people didn't just get there by talking to somebody else who was doing that, and then overnight they're like, boom, poof, I make $10,000 a month by doing working 10 hours a week. That didn't happen overnight. So you do have to put the work into it. And in any investment, whether it's even in stock market, you got to go in, you got to study, You got to look at what stocks you're going to buy, what the company is doing, how they're, you got to sort of
Mhm.
project what they're going to look like in the next, year or 6 months or however long you're going to hold that stock. If you're
Mhm.
doing real estate, you got to do your due diligence for the market, the area, the neighborhood, whatever it is. Um, so there's a lot of work that goes into it, and yes, eventually, and that's the goal for a lot of investors, is to have that residual income, um because I mean that's otherwise why are you investing? I mean, you're nobody's
Mhm.
investing to because they want in 10 years from now they want to work 100 hours a week,
No.
doing making all that money. No, you're
Yeah.
investing now
Uh,
because in 10 years from now you only want to work 10 hours
yep.
a week or whatever the
Yeah.
case is.
Yeah, and that's how you do it. Like, you put in the work now so you can relax later. Some people, okay, preparation. When preparation meets opportunity, that's when gold is struck. All right.
Yeah.
So some people do get a struck lightning. When we hear all these people who are really young and they just hit it gold, it's like those are rarities. Those are exceptions to the rule. The rule is hard work. Ask
Mhm.
any person, ask any business owner, small business owner. It is grueling work. All right. But if you have the dedication, you have the preparedness, so when the right opportunity comes, your sale will literally sail. All
Yeah.
right. So, how should you start investing? Again, knowing your finances, hanging out with the right people, and asking the right questions, or just asking questions, and
Right.
then looking for material, books. Read a freaking book. Rich
Yeah.
Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad is probably one of the most
Yep.
famous going
I've
around right
I've
now.
seen yeah, I've read through that
Uh,
one, yeah. Yeah,
yep,
whatever
Atomic
you can get your
Habits
hands
is really
on.
good. Biggerpockets.com. You can learn all types of real estate investments and other things that related. So there are now. I think we should go into the different kinds of investments. We've already talked on a lot of them: real
Yeah.
estate, stocks, 401k. But there's also wholesaling. Wholesaling is a type of investment where you don't need real estate or a lot of capital. You can actually get money through real estate by only having as little as $1,000.
Right. And you know what? Wholesaling, it scares the crap out of me because okay, so if you don't
Having the network,
and
you gotta have the
and
network. You gotta have the
correct
network to
me
start doing that.
correct me if I'm wrong, but this is I mean, this is what I understand wholesaling to be. So when you're buying, you're let's say I'm a wholesaler. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna find a house. I put my name, I put a contract to purchase that house. There's a section in the contract, and we've talked, Chris and I have talked about it before. There's a section in the contract that says I may assign this contract to somebody else. This is usually a red flag for me when I see, if somebody marks that I may, that we may assign this contract to somebody else and not held liable anymore. There's another, so there's three options. I can't assign
Mhm,
it, or I cannot assign it, or I can assign it, but I'm still liable. And then I
uh-huh,
can assign it, but I'm no longer
and
liable,
released from liability.
and release. So, and here's how this works. So the wholesaling, and it scares, like I said, it scares the living daylights out of me. You put a contract on the house, you have to put the money down. You're putting the escrow or what, thousand
Mhm,
dollars, $2,000, whatever the escrow is going to be. You're putting that into escrow, and then you're taking that and you have to negotiate to get that box check that says I can assign this contract to somebody else, and then I'm done. I'm no longer part of this deal. And so I take this contract, and let's say, somebody's selling a house for $200,000. So I go in there and I negotiate this, kick ass deal, and I get it for like 180 or 170 or something like that. Okay. So I now have this contract that's worth, to me, I'm hoping it's going to be worth $200,000, but I've got it on, I'm buying it for 170. My intention is to never buy this house. I'm not going to buy it. Chris, so Chris, who would buy this from you? A developer, a flipper, something like that, right?
yeah, this is where your contacts would come into play. So if
Right.
you,
So so I
a flipper is who you want. especially
Right.
the homes that you're wholesaling are the ones that are essentially kind of dilapidated. Sellers
Right.
need to get out. They want to get out. They don't have the
Yeah.
money to fix shit. The house is in a
Right.
condition that it cannot go on the market. A lot of sellers, sometimes they're upside down.
Yeah.
Um, and so you have to find these people and you have to have a
Yeah.
realistic talk with them. Hey, listen, I'm a wholesaler. Here's what I'm going to do. Your house
Yeah.
is probably only worth this, but I'm going to go ahead
Right.
and I'm going to take this contract. I'm going to go into contract. I'm going to give you $500 for $1,000, but I'm not giving it
Yeah.
to you. We're going to put this in escrow. All right.
Right.
And then I'm going to go ahead and look for an actual buyer for you.
Right.
And then
So then
they're
that's
going to say,
where
okay, if you can, thank
yeah.
you. I appreciate it. And then that's what you
Yeah.
do. And you go to your network of people. It's like, hey,
Right.
buddy, hey,
I've got
John, Jason, Jenny, I have a contract
yeah.
here. I have a house that it's under contract. I'm not going to tell them what I'm under contract for. All right. That's like, okay, I'm under contract for 180. I have a house here. It's going for 200. It
Mhm.
needs about 60 grand worth of work. And you can turn around and sell it for about 310 to 315. Are
Right.
you interested? They're going to run their numbers. They're going to see the property. And if it's a yes, boom, thank you. And then once they close, they're going to
Yeah.
buy the property for 200. You are going like the contract with the buyers or with the sellers is for 180. So they'll get their 180 and I will get the 20 grand that's in between.
Right.
So that's wholesaling. It sounds
Yeah.
easy as hell, but boy, it is not easy. Oh,
So,
sorry.
but then here's the thing is what happens if you can't find
You cancel the
that
contract.
flipper?
So
You
you do
cancel
an
the
as is
contract.
contract. Yep, you
Guess
cancel the
what you
contract
lose? Guess what you
or
might
you
lose?
extend or no.
Yeah.
So you extend it. So and as an as is contract, you have the fees, you
Eh,
have that inspection period with the right to cancel. So you
right.
do a low feasibility study and or low inspection, low escrow, excuse me, with a high inspection period, such as 15 days.
Yeah.
And then if you can't find somebody yet, but if someone's on the hook, you go, hey, seller, I need additional 5 days. Are you willing to sign an extension
Yeah.
for the inspection period? Yes, I am. Okay,
Yep.
here you go.
Yep.
I just bought me another 5 days. But like,
Right.
thing is, all you need for escrow as a good faith is $1. In fact, you don't even need an escrow at all.
No, they're just yeah, you don't have to have
No,
it. It's just
you don't.
but
But, like, it's good faith, and again, like, if you can't find
yeah.
anybody by day 15 or the seller wants to pull out, I'm like, "Alright, give me my money and we're good, bye."
Right.
You don't need a
But
real
it's
estate
so
license to do wholesaling.
yeah. And that's so wholesaling is just it scares the crap out of me. I don't think it's not something I could ever do. I'd ever want to do. I don't have the network to do it. I like, and it sounds like a lot of work and a lot of stress. I like being able to take my money and put it into something, and then I can keep tabs on it, whether it's a rental or some other stuff that I'm in, and we'll get to what we're actually doing here in a little bit. But for me, I just like putting my money and stuff and then kind of monitor and see, make sure it's going to have a good return. Now there is some due diligence before I do that, but let's talk about some of the other options. So we've talked about, stocks and wholesaling and you've got and then there's also like long and short term rentals. So I guess this is probably a good time to get into like what we are actually doing because I know this one kind of falls into what you're looking at, right? Aren't you getting into like a short-term rental kind of thing
Yeah,
or
yeah. So Beth and I are under contract right now for a short-term rental, in
okay.
the Lake Mary area. So we're gonna be closing soon, and then
Okay.
we're gonna take the time to go ahead and just get it all fixed up and get it all pretty, and then put it on to the VRBO, Airbnb,
Mhm.
and then we're gonna start a short term rental. So as I kind of already laid out earlier, we took a HELOC on this property, home equity line of credit, and then we used that money to go ahead and um, as a down payment, and we're going to use the remaining funds of the HELOC to finish it up, bring it up to par, bring it up to speed, presentable, livable, attractive for anyone who's looking to Airbnb. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. It's going to
What
be a fun time.
What was your decision, or why did you guys choose to go with a short-term rental? Why did you choose the area you did in Lake Mary, or you said it was Lake Mary, right?
Yeah.
Um, why did you like what was sort of the process that you went through to get to that point? Was it just
Mhm.
like, "Hey, there's a good deal?" Like, were you looking in a multitude of areas, or was it only in
Yeah.
this particular area,
Yeah.
and then you're like, you know.
So this was a long-term goal that got sped up because of the shifting market and interest rates
Okay.
and the value of the property. And technically, we were going to wait until about January, February to really kind of start searching. But because of the market was changing too fast, we decided to hold off. We decided to pull the trigger quickly. It got to HELOC, which took about 45 days. And then we were still going to wait. And then just one day we were in her office on a Sunday or something like that. And we were just talking about properties. We were looking at areas. We were looking at Nashville. We were looking at Georgia, Savannah, particularly Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, we were looking all throughout the state. Florida was just not a freaking option because every home was just crap. There were awesome opportunities, cheap properties that were used already for short-term rental throughout the coast, but the HOAs in these communities were like anywhere between $300 to $500. I found one in New Smyrna that was $1,000 a month, and I was just like, eat dicks. Like that's insane amount of money. So we were just trying to brainstorm and try to figure shit out. And she just happened to go online, and a property popped up in a beautiful bungalow popped up in
Okay.
Lake Mary for a little higher than what we wanted to pay, but we had the money.
Right.
It was all right. And we went, we saw it that day because they were doing an open house. We walked it, saw the property, beautiful corner
Mhm.
lot, less than a quarter mile from the historic area, and I was just like, "Holy shit! This is an awesome freaking opportunity for." And what we're seeing, we're
Yeah.
talking when we buy a property, we're not selling it. We are holding it for a long term. This property will
Okay.
never leave until I'm dead. Uh, um,
You
and
say
the
that
same thing with other
now.
properties. No,
You
no,
say that now, and I
not
talk to
selling.
a lot of investors that sort of have that attitude, like, "Oh, well, you know, I'm gonna keep this property for long term, and you know, I don't want to switch out. I don't want to do this." But here's the thing: investors have to look at if between. So you're always looking at, you know, if you're trying to make money, you're always looking at, okay, well, rent right now, rent is the best option. Like you're going to get a lot of rent, and maybe selling it, you know, in 5 years is not the best idea. But at some point, you're going to have to weigh those options and say, look, man, I can sell the crap out of this house and make, you know, and I don't,
Mhm,
I can now take that profit and I can put it into something bigger or a duplex or
mhm.
whatever, and it's
You
going
know
to
what?
make
You're
more
not wrong.
sense.
You're
It's
not
gonna make
wrong,
more
but
sense.
until I hit that point, my mindset's on is on to like, I'm holding on to it because
Well, yeah, you hold on to it.
big investors have hundreds of homes,
Yes,
hundreds, if not thousands.
yes, depending on the investor. So you have hundreds of or thousands of units, not
Yeah.
necessarily just homes. Like, there are people
Yeah,
that
you're right.
focus
Units.
specifically
So,
on
single
single
family.
family residential,
Mhm,
short-term or long-term, rentals, but
mhm,
then, like, so for me, example, I'm focusing more on how many units can I get a hold of, because if I can have so if I have 1 home that's just 1 unit, I'm gonna get an X amount. Or I can have a building that has 5 units or 10 units or whatever, multifamily apartments or mobile home parks or whatever the case is. Now I
mhm.
own, you know, more, and there's more there's more stuff that you have to pay attention to as far as, you know, getting people in. It's a little bit higher risk of, you know, turnover and getting new tenants and
That's why you
everything.
hired
But
somebody to do all that shit. That's why
for the
again, you're
most
buying
part,
back your time. So, like, when you have,
yeah.
say, like, you say if you have just, like, 10 properties, that's more properties than one person can do. So you
But
hire a
here's
team. to
Right.
do that.
But here's the thing, in the beginning, like, do you have a team right now?
No, it's
No.
just gonna be her and I because we only have one
Correct.
property.
Correct.
All right.
When
When
do
we
you
have
think
like
you
10
will hire a
properties,
when do you
I'm
think
sorry.
you would have a team?
I wouldn't say around 8 or 10 units, 8 to 10 units.
And how long do you think it'll take you to get to 8 or 10 units?
I would like to say 10 years.
So that's a long time before you're worried about a team. So that's what I'm saying is
Mhm.
we're talking about like yes, have a team, but have the beginning of it, it's going to be you. It's not going to be and here's, when you're investing, when you're putting your money into this stuff, you have people that you can work with that you can rely on, but don't expect it to just be turnkey and you're gonna get this Airbnb or you're gonna get this apartment and it's just gonna be easy peasy. Somebody else is gonna take care of it. I just get a paycheck at the end of the day. They can be, but you're gonna have to pay like if you hire a property manager or something like that, you're gonna have to pay anywhere from 15 to up to like 30 or 40% of your income, depending on what they're doing for you. And so in the beginning of it, and if you really want to maximize your capital or your gains, you got to do a lot of this work on your own. And the other side to that is I always advocate at least for the first several investments that you do it yourself. Force yourself
Yeah.
to do the books. I mean, have people help you, but you're not hiring them as a team, but doing the books, putting out the marketing to get the new tenants, turning over new tenants or whatever the
Yeah.
case is, do it yourself because guess what? If you haven't done it yourself, when you hire somebody, number one, you're not going to know how if they're doing a good job or a bad job if you don't know how it's supposed to be done in the first place. Number two, for me, it makes me feel better that it's like, man, I built this. Like
Yeah.
I made this investment and I've built it up to where it is now. And it was because of me, not because I hired a bunch of people, but it was because of me. And now I've hired people that sort of, take on and do
Mhm.
the tedious task. But I have the experience now to tell them how to do it and what to do, when to do it, things like that. So then
Mhm.
that way it's sort of that pride of ownership, that pride of an investment. Um, so
I don't
it's
disagree with you. I
yeah,
just kinda lost where, like, the kind of the point was, like, 'cause it looked like you were kinda pushing back on me for a little bit, and I was just like, "Wait, what's going on here?" I don't disagree with you, like, you definitely should once you need to do everything yourself so you know what to do.
right.
And then once you get too big enough, if that's the goal, you gotta hire a team and to
Yes.
do to be able to handle, process it all so you can go and live your life, and focus on other endeavors, whatever that
Right.
endeavor would be.
And that's
Um
that's no different even, like we're
Mhm.
doing as real estate agents. I mean, you have services, you have teams, you have, things, you have people that create advertisements and do things like for you that you don't necessarily so then that way you can focus on the more
Yeah,
important task and actually
yeah. Business
finding
development tasks.
correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Have everyone do all the mundane admin stuff, and I'll just focus on business development. That's
Yep.
exactly where I kind of want to be with it. And short-term rentals is definitely where it is. Like for me, as at this point in time, where you can accumulate probably the fastest amount of wealth, other than like wholesaling, if you don't want to do that because it's very laborious. There's a
Mhm.
lot of rejections involved too, and it takes a long time to build up a network and then convincing people to sell their house for less than what it's worth. So,
Yes.
and
Well, yeah.
I have two opportunities right now, which is outstanding, where I'm going to be trying to wholesale. Um, and
Oh,
on
are you?
top of that, it's going to help the sellers. It's honestly
Alright.
really going to help the sellers because the biggest expense for a seller is the commissions. And if you go on the market
Yep.
expecting, a certain amount, knowing it's not going to get it, you're going to get nothing but issues from buyers, and then you're going to get lowball offers from investors. So you're better off just wholesaling it, having an upfront, honest conversation with them. It's like, listen, I'm going to try to get you X, and I'm going to go ahead and wholesale it. So you and I are going to go into contract. I'm gonna put $500 in escrow, and I'm gonna try to sell it for this much. Are you good with this much? This is how much you're
Hmm.
gonna net. Yes, it is. All right, cool. Now I'm gonna go take this and try to sell it, and then talk to my network, and just keep pushing. Just keep pushing.
Right.
Just keep
Yep.
pushing. You'll find
Yep.
somebody. Like if and that's another element that I'm going to try to explore here. Like I said, two opportunities kind of presented itself, and preparations meet opportunity can meet cash flow.
Right.
So, so enough of really about like what I'm doing. Like, what are you doing? You're doing something very unique.
So, um,
What have you been
it
doing?
was so let me I'll kind of start by how I got into it as far as, so building the capital, that was a big thing for me. I've never had the capital to invest this much money into, things that I've wanted to, or opportunities I've had opportunities come across my plate, and I'm like, I don't have any money for that. It
Mhm.
just wasn't there. And because I'm trying to pay down on debts, and I'm trying, my paycheck is going towards just the cost of living essentially. And so then, fast forward, I got into real estate, so now I have a little bit of extra income, and I started building, selling a bunch of houses, helping people buy houses, and I started using that capital through the business. So now I've had a couple of opportunities that have come through. So the first one was back in it was it was last year. So there's a friend of mine, he's also a pilot. He's been in the real estate, industry for a while now. He had a bunch of single family residences in Atlanta, Georgia. He rented them out for a while. He made some pretty decent money. He sold all of those. He started getting into mobile home parks. And I was like, when he was going to buy his first mobile home park, and I was like, mobile home parks? Like, I don't know anything about those.
Mhm.
And so he, and I didn't have the money when he came to me with the first one. So fast forward to the second one, which was about a year later for him, or 8 months or so. And there was one up in Alabama, just outside of Auburn, Alabama. What's the town called? I can't think of it right now. I'm having a brain fart, but it's just outside of Auburn, Alabama. And there's a mobile home park, so he found it, and it was listed on the market for $800,000. There was 27 units, 27 mobile homes on there.
Mhm.
And I didn't really know a whole lot about it, but I sort of trusted him that he had already done one. He's been doing a bunch of other stuff, so I sort of trusted him, and I was like, sure, I'll throw a little bit of money. You know, I'll partner up with you. I'll throw some money into it, and
How much was he
holy
asking,
crap!
and how much did you give?
So I ended up giving on this one, since it was my first one, I gave 20 grand.
Mhm.
I think that's yeah, it was like 20 or
That's what you told
30,000.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And so like I said, and I was super nervous because I'm like, I don't know anything about mobile home parks. Obviously that they're a thing, but the more I started digging into it, I'm like, oh wow, this is a pretty lucrative
Yeah,
investment. This is something
and
that's
listening to him because he's already been doing this. So
correct.
you were listening to
Right.
what he had to say, and you
Right.
saw the lines and the dots were connecting. Like, oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah. So
And
so
so
this one
it
in
worked.
particular, so here's the thing. So we bought it for, it was right around $800,000, 27 units. We've added like 4 or 5 units to it now, so it's increased. We've done some other things to improve the park. I've been up there to visit, taking some pictures and everything, just to kind of show, my portfolio. Um, but it's a really nice park. It's a nice community. I got to meet a lot of the people that live there, and everything, and interact with them, and the community itself is really nice. um and then and they all pay on time, and it's the market for mobile home parks right now is just it's crazy. So we've taken this park, it's 800, we bought it for 800, and we've done some things to clean it up, added more homes, we've raised the rent a little bit. to match what the market, the market rates are for rentals. We're not going crazy. And
Mhm.
there's a whole nother, set if you're interested in mobile home parks. Like I could, there's a lot of stuff to talk about,
Yeah.
what to do, what not to do, and so on, but we won't get into that. But so we've done some things to improve the park. The market right now, we haven't gotten an official appraisal right now, but the market is somewhere, gonna be somewhere around 1.2, 1.4, um, you know, as far as what it's worth right now.
No,
So that's huge. That's freaking huge.
that's
So
actually
then
really good profit.
yeah. So the goal with this is and the goal with this is, you own it for a couple years, you clean it up. By that, end of the first or second year, you do that cash out refinance, and then you take that. So now we've, almost doubled the value of the park in, 2 years, let's say. So
Mhm.
you do the cash out refinance, we take that cash, and then now the bank holds, you're leveraging that money. The bank is taking the risk on the park, you're taking that cash out, and now you're putting it into something else. So that's sort of
Something
my
bigger.
plan with that. With that part of it is to take that whenever we get to that 2 years, and then I pull that out and I put it into something else. So since then, I've actually done. We just did our second. It's my second. It's the guy I'm working with. It's his fourth mobile home park. He owns
Mhm.
four of them. I'm partnered on two of them with him. The second one, I went a little bit higher, did a bigger investment with him, just because I'm like, okay, this seems like it's working. And so we've bought a second one. This one's up in North Florida. We've already had, some good collections on rent. This one has 29 units. We're thinking about maybe converting this park from mobile homes to an RV park, which has an even greater return on, or a monthly
Is this the
income,
one that
and
you actually presented me?
yeah, I
Is this
actually
the yeah.
told you about this one as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I was just like, "Ah, I can't." Like, I don't again,
Hmm.
I don't have the money. I'm sorry,
So
but I
wh-
do now.
yeah, but
With
here's the
being
thing, like
utilized elsewhere.
you might have been a little nervous about it too. I mean, when I asked you
No,
about it, were
I
you like,
trusted you.
mobile home
No, like,
parks? Like, I don't
I
know.
it's no, I trusted you enough to do it. I just, like I was like, "I have it," but I'm like, we have plans for this we have plans for something else
Yeah.
on that, and it's
Yeah.
our money, not mine. If it was my money, it'd be a different story.
Right.
So,
Yep.
that's one of the things why I didn't really jump on the board, but and then you
Yeah.
presented the newest one now, which is the Alaskan one.
Yeah. So
Right.
so I've done a couple of so I've got the two mobile home parks, and then so here's the thing, like when your ear so it's kind of funny because it was a moment where I'm sitting there with some other people, and I'll tell you the story here in a second. But you have to have being in the investments, and now that I'm in it, my ears are open to people that mention something like, you know, and it could be just something that's like, oh yeah, I bought a mobile home park. Most people were like, "Oh, cool." Now I'm like, "Huh? You did you bought it? What are you doing? You need some help? You need some money? What do you got going on?"
You're gonna be
Because
like
I
an
know
angel
that,
investor over there?
like, we're talking about, I know if he's looking at mobile home parks or whatever, I know he's sort of an investor, and I can work with him. So that's how we got to the Alaska thing. So I was down this is another pilot that works at the same company as me, and we actually met down. I was on a trip down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and we're in the hotel. We're down in the hotel bar, and I'm having a couple of drinks with three other pilots that were down there on the layover, and so we're all sitting there, and he comes in, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's going on?" And so we were chit chatting with him, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said something about some of the stuff that he was working on and doing, and he mentioned Alaska and development. Bing, those are like
What, Alaskan development?
I
What
started picking
Alaskan
up on
development?
keywords. I'm like, hold on, what are you doing in Alaska? So here's the thing. This was the so the other three guys that I was sitting there with. they all said basically the exact same thing. Oh, that's cool. So what? Yeah, what else is going on? Then they started trying to move on. I'm like, hold on a second. This guy just said something important. Investments, development, real estate in Alaska. I want to know more about this. So we didn't talk about it for too long, but I was like, hey man, here's my number. I want to talk more about what you got going on. I'm doing mobile home parks and stuff, but I'm really curious, not that, I wasn't telling him, it's like, hey, I'm going to give you a bunch of money, but I want to know what's going on because, hey, this sounds like an opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Dig
so
down,
listening
find out
up,
what's going on. Yeah.
yeah, you got to listen up. And it doesn't matter who you're with. I mean, I would have never thought I'm down in, Brazil sitting in the hotel bar and one of the other guys walks up, one of our pilots, and he mentions a couple of like two or three key words. And I'm like, hey, I'm interested. Whereas the other guys are like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So tomorrow I can't wait to get back home and blow, they're all, it was
Me.
just,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, they
Yeah.
don't have the investor mentality, or like they haven't learned to tap into that yet,
Right.
or just listening. Like
Yep.
there's just listening and asking questions goes such a long way, and
Yep.
you have to do more listening than talking
Yes.
sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see how this is gonna work out. So basically the Alaska investment, it's this
Yeah.
guy, he's doing some developments out in Alaska. He's got so right now it's I've invested in phase one. We just signed an agreement the other day, like last week or whatever, and we wired over the money. And here's the other thing, I used to get all uptight about it. He's like, wire $25 wire transfer. What are you
I know,
talking
right?
about? But then it's like, okay, when you're
Whatever.
when you're transferring,
In the grand
big
scheme of things, whatever.
big sums of money and everything, and I'm like, all right, $25, sure, that's a couple of drinks
Yeah.
at the bar or whatever nowadays.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
like, seriously, you can't gripe over it. It's just like, what's happening here? It's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get X amount." Sure.
right,
Here,
right, yeah,
you're paying it forward. That's all
no,
it
yeah,
is.
it's by the time this is all said and done, the $25 will just, it's like I would have spent $25 any day to make, but anyway, so the nice thing is I wanted to get into it so I could learn what he was doing because this is sort of a different avenue of development. They're building a couple of duplexes out by a ski resort in Girdwood, Alaska, which is about an hour outside of Anchorage. And then the actual property is like 5 minutes from this big ski resort. And there's, he's doing two duplexes, which he's already got three of them sold by the time I'm getting into it. So that was the other thing when we started talking
Mhm.
about it. I'm like, hold on a second. You want me to invest, but you've already like there's not a lot of risk on my side because you've already got three of them sold.
3 of them sold.
You had the fourth one sold, but the guy backed out because turns out he didn't have the money to do it or whatever. And so really we only have to sell one more unit. I'm like, okay, where's my risk here? I mean, so it was one of those things like because I kept my ears open, I'm like, this sounds like a really
The
good
risk, yeah, the risk
opportunity.
seems very the risk
Right.
is not there's risk, alright? There's always risk,
There's
but
always
it's
gonna be
like
risk.
when you hear the right recipe, like, this is worth the risk. You know, like
Yeah.
that's when you hear everything that you like hearing, then the risk all becomes worth it. Like
Yeah.
everyone has a risk tolerance. You just will do it enough and you'll find it. But the first
Right.
step is always the riskiest one. Like for
Yes.
Bethany and I,
Oh
this is
yeah.
our first investment deal.
Yeah.
So like our anxiety is pretty high because we haven't
Yep.
done it before.
Yep.
Hers is higher because I'm excuse me, more into the real estate game. I know what to
Mhm.
do.
Correct.
I know what to expect. I know the
Right.
steps.
Mhm.
And so she's got more confidence in me than than I yeah, okay. She has a lot of confidence in me and my ability to go ahead
Right.
and proceed with this.
Right.
And she is
Yep.
willing to go past her comfort zone for this risk. So for me, the risk is lower than for her. Her risk is higher, but
Yeah.
because of her confidence, she's willing to ride the train, and we're gonna
Right.
do it together as a team and just kind of see where it
Yeah.
goes. And
No, that makes sense. It's
yeah,
always nice to have somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of too
mhm.
when you're getting into this stuff, but that's not always the case. A lot of the stuff I'm kind of doing it on my own, um just because
Yeah,
I'm the opportunities will come to me, and it's, I've got the money to invest into it, and you discuss it with your significant others and
Mhm.
spouse or whatever. But a lot of times, you get kind of, it's like, well, they don't know much about it. They're like, well, if you think it's a good idea, then yeah, let's do it. You know,
Yep.
um,
Yeah. And so there's different other oh my god, what the
I
hell is
know
going on? Someone's
it's
leeching into our stuff on
we're
YouTube
getting
right now, posting
spammed.
naughty things, and holy crap, they keep doing it.
Uh-oh, they found it.
Oh,
They're not gonna.
69giga.com. Find love in your town
Oh,
today.
jeez.
Smooch, smooch, winky, winky. Oh my god, what a spammer! What an asshole! All right, so different types of there's other different types of real estate, and actually, one of the people that are watching, they asked, "What about agricultural real investments, such as a Christmas tree farm?" There are all different types of agricultural investments as well. A very popular one here in Florida is pine trees. As you're driving down the road, have you ever noticed just a singular row of pine trees? Just like this is very odd for a forest. There's just pine trees in a row. And so, like, what's going on with that? Well, that's an agricultural farm. So what they're doing is they're harvesting the pine needles because here in Florida, people like using mulch for their flower
Mhm.
beds or rocks and stuff like that. Up north,
Yep.
pine needles is super, super, super popular. And so what happens
Yeah,
every
it is.
year or throughout the year when these pine needles all fall to the ground, these collectors come out and they scoop all the pine needles off,
And then
and
they
then that's
sell
how
them.
and then sell them. And what they
They
do is they
sell
pay the
them.
farmer, and all you
Yeah.
literally made money while sleeping. The tree is growing and dropping needles. It's
Yeah.
doing what it does
Yeah.
naturally, and you made money.
Yeah.
So I'm
A
not
friend of
very
mine
familiar
bought a
with Christmas
bag
tree
of
farms.
she
What's
bought a
that?
bag of a friend of mine bought a bag of pine needles. I think she said she paid, like, for a big garbage bag full of them was like, it was like $15 or $20 or something. I'm like, "Really?" I'm like,
Yeah,
"I'll sell
yeah.
you all my pine needles. I mean, if you're gonna pay me that much, but
Yeah,
just
but you
I."
need like acres upon acres of that stuff too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and you want for I know this for a fact because I literally just did research on the pine trees not too long ago. Like you want a semi like when they're coming into the maturity, so it's around 4 to 6 years old, and then that's when you can start kind of doing that. You can start
Right.
doing that. So, and there are agricultural farms out there. Um, and then on top of that, you get subsidies from the government. On top of that, and you
Sometimes you
get a
do,
huge
yeah.
exemptions.
Yeah.
And so you get a
Yeah,
huge exemptions off of that too.
I don't know a whole lot about the ag investments and stuff. I mean, I have 15 acres, but man, I could not imagine having to run a farm or even a tree farm. It's just, there's a lot of,
That's
to me,
yeah.
there seems like there's a lot more risk in that, but it's probably because I don't know a whole lot about it,
Yeah, you just don't know it. See,
you
like
know?
again, because you haven't done it, your risk is
Correct.
here. But once
Correct.
you do it and you find the information, like, oh, this is not that bad. Oh, this
Right.
is nothing. All right. And then you
Yeah.
hear someone, oh shit,
Yeah.
you do it? What do you okay, tell me,
So,
school
yeah.
me.
So essentially,
Uh,
it's any investment can be good. It's just what you're going to be comfortable with, and for you, Chris, you're comfortable with doing the real estate,
mhm,
investment. For me, I was comfortable. I was nervous on the first mobile home park, but now I'm like, hey, it's not a bad idea.
mhm,
For the Alaska development, I'm still a little nervous because even though the development is already about halfway done. It should be probably completed and ready for those people to move in probably about 4 or 5 months or so.
yeah,
And and then he's got other phases that he's gonna do. Phase two, phase three. That's gonna have some really big upsides to it. That I'll probably be. And I told him this from the beginning. And here's the thing: like when you're given a bunch of money or certain amounts of money to people, especially, I mean, when you're doing real estate, like what you're doing, like you're buying a piece of property, and
mhm,
you're sort of investing in yourself to make sure that it gets rented, it gets, it's maintained, it's this, it's that. For me, doing the mobile home park and this development, like I just sent this this guy, like he's just a guy that has an LLC, just like I have an LLC. I just sent him a bunch of money. So I'm kind of relying on him to do a good job and to make sure that
Yeah.
my money is going to come back to me with extra.
Yeah, and just kind of point out the obvious, but don't just give people money arbitrarily. Just make sure
Right.
you have an agreement. Sit down with a
Right.
lawyer or someone
Yeah.
write out an
And
agreement.
that's
That way, it's
exactly
never
what we
clear.
did. Yeah.
You
We
have
went
to
back and
pay for that
forth.
lawyer. It
Yep.
may cost you $1,000 for that
Yep.
lawyer, but guess what? You're expected to make like
Yeah.
20 plus grand more back. So,
Yep.
yeah, pay for the freaking time. Don't just trust
Yep.
somebody, or even don't care
And
if he's your friend or your family member.
that's
Don't care.
exactly what we did is we hashed out an agreement, and we had some edits, and we had some, it's like, hey, well, I got to have this in there, you should put that in there. And and we
Mhm.
did, we went back and forth. And also, to be honest, in the meantime, while I'm doing that, I'm sort of vetting him as well to see how much give he's going to give me, or how much
Mhm.
leeway he's going to give me, because I want to see how, if he's what kind of
And
person
how
he's going
much
to
he's
end
not
up being.
telling you too. Yeah,
Correct.
and it's like, do
Correct.
I feel like he's hiding something? It seems like he's hiding
Right.
something, you know?
So yes, I mean, again, like I've met the guy in person once, but I've talked to him on the phone tons of time. I mean, we don't live in the same state. It's not like we can just go down and have coffee and talk about what's going on, but we do talk on the phone. We text quite a bit, and then he also has some other communications that come out with progress of the development and things. So, but again, I was still a little nervous. Had he not been working for the same company that I work for as far as the airline goes, I would have been even more nervous.
Mhm.
Um,
More
but
vetting needs to be done.
yeah, more vetting would have been needed to be done. He's prior military. We're working for the same airline. And then so there was a lot of things that were kind of lining up that I was like, okay, I think I can trust this guy. But again, make sure, but I'm still trusting him to take this money that I'm giving him and giving it back to me in the proper amount, in the agreed time with the agreed profits and everything. And
Mhm.
and to be honest, this one has the potential to earn about 20% when it's done in about 6 months.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
I
Nice.
know. I know. So
Nice, and
I
so you'll get a nice big chunk of
yeah,
money there,
yeah.
and, eventually, I'll be able to get on your level, and I'll call you up and be like, "Jared, let me in on this."
Yeah. But again,
Uh,
so here's the thing. I mean, we can kind of start wrapping this up, I think. What do you say?
yeah, we do, and I actually kinda wanted to give, a little rundown of different types of real estate developments, like, that are out there. So we can do that, and then we can just kinda wrap up. We can just kinda just
Yeah.
do a rundown of different types. So
Yeah,
we've
yeah. Go ahead.
obviously talked about what's that?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we've done there's different types of investments. So we've talked about developments such as Jared in Alaska, talked about short-term rentals and regular rentals. So for me, there we talked about wholesaling.
Mhm.
Agricultural is one that's not very well known, in my opinion. Commercial is an obvious. So if you're able to get a hold of a commercial plaza, you don't need to have a lot of knowledge. A lot of these plazas, the seller's owner in it, but you can keep the management company that's running it. Here's one, billboards.
Yeah. I have heard about
They're
that.
freaking everywhere. So you
They
can
are.
actually own the land for a billboard,
Yep.
and you can do that. Do the
Yep.
billboards, and then you can just advertise like, "I have a free space. Are you willing to pay X amount per month for your ad?"
Mhm.
And you just sell an ad space, and it's literally doing nothing. You're sleeping and making money.
Right.
Marinas. So you did uh, um, mobile homes, but there's also marinas.
Marinas. Yeah,
Marinas
that's
are
a
up
big
for
one.
sale.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's a
Yep.
huge one. Marinas,
It is.
apartments, multifamilies, and I'm kind of drawing a blank on other things that I've thought about. Um, do you have anything that could
Well,
possibly?
and aside from all of that, as far as real estate, I mean, outside of real estate, there's always stock markets. There's always,
Yeah,
if you want
I
to
want to
be,
keep it. I want to keep it
I know, but
real estate
you know,
related though.
but just
So
investments in general, though,
mhm.
if you're wanting to get in, maybe you're
Yeah.
looking at investing in businesses or
Yep.
startups and stuff like that. But
And I promise you, you do not need a real estate license. Don't. You do not need a real estate. Does it make
yeah,
it easier? Yeah, because now you're more knowledgeable about real estate. But like, you got to be in it. You got to be
yeah.
in it, and you got to get
Well,
it to surround yourself with too.
here's the thing. Partner, if you don't have your real estate license, partner up with with somebody that does have their license, because
Yeah.
at the end of the
Everyone
day,
knows
your
someone
whole
who's a realtor. Everyone
right.
knows someone who's a realtor. So go
Yeah.
right up to them, be like, "Hey, do you invest?" And chances are, if
Right.
they're a good realtor, they'll be like, "Yeah, I invest." Like, cool,
Yeah.
cool.
They
Can
probably
you
have one or two
sit down and talk
properties,
about it?
if not more than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and partner up with them, because I tell you what, you're going to save so much money on or on, real estate fees, realtor fees and stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
a lot of those people that, especially like house flippers, most of those people, they have an in-house or a partnered real estate
Mhm.
agent that cuts them a really big deal on when they have to, they buy the house and they're like, hey, when we buy the house, you get all the, you know, you take all the commission from that. When we sell the house, you're going to sell it because you're going to sell it for like one, they're going to make some sort of deal, like a low percentage for the
Yeah.
selling fees, because
Yep.
they're giving them a lot of business, whatever you work out with them. It doesn't matter, but you're going to save a lot more money if you partner with some real estate agent that can cut you those kind of deals, because you're doing them and, you're constantly coming back to them for more business. So,
Yep. And
um,
then flipping too. That's another one too. But
yeah,
yeah, man.
yeah.
I'm good. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're at an hour and a half,
So
so it's a great time.
some of the next episodes, so we kind of talked about it. This was like a very broad overview of investing, what I'm invested in, what Chris is invested in. You know, check out the upcoming episodes, because what I want to do with this series is basically talk about the progression of our specific investments, whether Chris, if you find something else, and then if I find something else, and then the current stuff that we have, how did your
Yep.
closing go, how is the mobile home parks, how is the develop, that Alaska stuff that's going.
Yep. And I
I
can
want
let you
to sort
know.
of chronicle that, because it's good to, because I, like I said, I listen to other people and their struggles and their successes through their investment process of growing their wealth, growing their legacy, growing their whatever, their portfolio. And I want to learn from their mistakes. I want to learn from their successes, and what to do and what not to do. But the biggest thing, just keep your ears open for
Mhm.
those investments. And where I was going with that is the upcoming episodes, we're going to get into like more details, because there are some technical terms and things that you have to be conscious of. You have to know what they are, like cap rates, capitalization rates.
For pretty much commercial. You like want to know
Yeah,
what the
for
cap rate is and stuff like that.
well,
Yeah.
not even just commercial real estate, but like even for you, I mean, and for mobile home parks is important, the cap rate, because basically, the cap rate is how much, the property how much you're buying it for, or the value of it,
Yeah.
and then how much your net profit is for
Yeah,
the year. So
for short-term rental, because there's a lot of ins and outs too, like people coming and going, is a cap
right,
rate's not nearly as important as it is
right,
to your average daily rate and your occupancy.
right.
It's,
Yeah, that's right,
that's where the main focus. You're not wrong, but
right.
those are some of the details that we can discuss
Yeah,
going forward to the next
yeah,
segment. Because chances are, when we next time we talk about this, Airbnb might be up and running.
yeah,
We would like to be up and running by January
yeah.
1st. So
Nice,
that's
nice,
the goal. No
nice.
time to waste, buddy. No time
Yep.
to waste, because that HELOC ain't gonna pay itself.
No, not at all. So yeah, talking about cap rates and cash flow. There's the
Yeah.
four C's of investment. So we'll talk about that at some point, and then just
Mhm.
how to make sure your investments are doing good. Um, you know, so all that's there's so many things to talk about that has to do with all of this, and I'm excited for the new series. I'm excited. We're still going to talk about real estate, but it's just kind of adding to the flavor. This is a new whiskey added to repertoire of podcast, so to speak.
I like it. Cheers to that, brother.
Cheers. It's been fun.
Been a lot of fun. Drinking some water now at this point.
That's fine. And
cheers,
if you
guys.
want, cheers. If you want to find us on the audio only, you can do that on whatever your favorite podcast app provider, whether it's iHeartRadio or Apple Podcast, Google Pod, like all that stuff. We're on Spotify. You can find the audio only. So if you can't sit here, and I understand if you can't sit here and watch the full video, but you can find all that stuff. Just search it on your phone, search it on the computer, whatever. You can listen to the audio only, and it's it'll help us out. And also, hey, if you're still watching this right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, follow us, all that good stuff. I always forget about that.
Always forget about it.
Always forget about it.
See you guys.
Right. Peace.
I swear one of these days I'm gonna learn that song. It's a simple one too. I know I did keep saying that. Hey, it'll happen.
Bye.